Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. These are the core tenets of Thelema, a religion, a philosophy, a magical system that was developed by a very infamous man named Aleister Crowley. Now, recently I just moved a bunch of my TikToks, not too many, but some of the best performing ones, over to YouTube Shorts. And one of those TikToks was me discussing how do what thou wilt is often misinterpreted. And in the comment of that video, someone asked, how do I find my true will? How do I know what my true will is? And the beautiful and also sort of stressful thing about Thelema is that it's really hard to discuss some of its moving parts out of context because they are so interconnected and interwoven, and there's like layers upon layers of symbolism and meaning. So I figured that today I would just discuss a little bit about Thelema and talk about the true will, because that really is sort of the heart of everything. Now, this episode, if you're watching on YouTube, will be I'll be taking the audio and putting it into my podcast, so it'll be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, a whole bunch of other podcasting platforms. And if you are listening from the podcast, this is also a video on YouTube, so go find me other places. So what exactly is Thelema? A system of philosophies and spiritual laws, if you want to call them laws, that place authority, power, and sovereignty back in the hands of the individual. And if we look at the word Thelema, it is the Greek word that literally means will. So when we say will, when we talk about the true will, we're not talking about want. Do what thou wilt does not mean do what you want. Do what thou wilt literally means do your will, do your true will. But the will in this context is, to put it shortly, it's your life's purpose, but it's a bit more complex than that. It's the expression of the divine through you. It is your true nature. It is your essential nature. Things that you want are limited wills or conditioned wills. The true will is beyond conditioning. It is beyond limitation. It is just pure divine inertia. Like Aleister Crowley himself even said, a man who is doing his true will has the inertia of the entire universe behind him. Doing your true will, finding your true will and fulfilling that really is sort of like stepping into a universal slipstream, sort of finding the momentum of the divine in your life and just riding that and living your best life, if you will. So, one of the quotes from the Book of the Law, it's like the opening quote, every man and every woman is a star. Without getting too much into the cosmology of Thelema, this really implies like every individual, every single person is unique and special and equal, right? And, every star has its own orbit. They don't crash into each other. They're not trying to sabotage each other. So if we want to analogize it in this way, if you are a star and you have your own individual path, your own individual orbit, that is your true will. It's like your own personal supply of like divine nitro that just propels you through your universe. Another quote from the Book of the Law that we can look at to get some context on the true will is, "For pure will, unassuaged of purpose, delivered from the lust of result, is every way perfect." So right here, it's kind of spelled out plainly for us, addresses the difference between the true will and limited wills. The true will is unassuaged of purpose, delivered from the lust of result. So it's not something that is done or enacted with expectation or to get something out of it. It is purely divinity expressing itself. And because each of us is so individual and so unique, no two people are the same. Everyone's will, everyone's true will is going to be different. The divine is going to express itself differently through each person. Think of yourself as sort of like a lens, or some sort of vessel that holds a spark of the divine, a little bit of that star fire. That light or that fire is going to exude from you much differently than it will the next person. Physically, you're different. Mentally, you're different. Emotionally, spiritually, we're all unique. The word of the law is Thelema. I don't think you have to be a Thelemite. You do not have to be a Thelemite to learn about the true will, or try to discover your own true will. I don't even think you have to consider yourself explicitly a spiritual person. I think this is a concept. I think these are things that could benefit anyone and everyone. So, don't get wrapped up in the religious or spiritual identity of it all. But the word of the law is Thelema. So will here is the center of this whole system that we're talking about. But earlier, if you remember the quote that I said, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. The word of the law is Thelema. And then directly after that, love is the law, love under will. What's going on here? If love is the law, then how is will the law? Well, if you have any understanding of gematria, which is a Hebrew system of equating numbers with letters, in the Hebrew alphabet and in many ancient cultures, each letter of the alphabet had a numerical value, and they didn't have a system of letters and a system of numbers. There was, you had the alphabet and you used it both for linguistics and also for mathematics. If you break down the numerical values of the word Thelema, the Greek word Thelema, it equates to 93. And the assumption is that if any two words share the same value, that there was some sort of link or connection between them. There was some sort of equality. There was some shared essence. So Thelema equates to 93. Love is the law, remember? So the other Greek word that is really important here is agape. That Greeks had so many different words for love because they were very specific with the types of love that they were addressing or that they were talking about. So agape is love in the sense of the type of love between God and humans. It's a divine sense of love. And agape also equates to 93. So we have here two words that share the same value. So we would assume that they are essentially the same thing or equal. Love is the law, love under will. Right, so do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, 93. Love under will, love supporting will fueled by love. The true will is a sense of using yourself as a vehicle to communicate and share that divine spark, that divine love, and connect with the divinity in other people, uniting us with the divine, the divinity within ourselves in a way that is ecstatic. We've talked about what will is, about what Thelema is. So how do you find it? How do you know what your true will is? Unfortunately, there is no tried and true method. There is no one that can tell you or decide that for you. It really is a personal process of discovery and uncovering yourself. Now, there are some things that you can look at, some questions you can ask yourself to sort of get you on the right path, but ultimately it's up to you to decide and figure those things out. Personal authority and sovereignty is a big thing in Thelema. Even at the end of the book of the law, which I've mentioned quite a few times, at the end of this, Crowley adds a comment. And keep in mind that this is the book that most of the core tenets and philosophies of Thelema they come from this text. So the comment starts, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Okay? All questions of the law are to be decided only by appeal to my writings, each for himself. There is no law beyond do what thou wilt. Love is the law, love under will. So even at the end of the Thelemic holy text, one of the holy texts, it says this should be interpreted for yourself. These words should be interpreted for yourself, and that goes with most things in the system of Thelema, anyone who calls themselves Thelemites. So, some tools, some things that you can look at to maybe try to figure out what your true will is. Start journaling, for sure. Look at the areas of your life where you just light up without explanation, where you just have huge amounts of passion and interest and devotion. I don't want anyone to walk away thinking that the true will is, because I put it in short form, it's your life's purpose, but don't think of it as something that has to become a career or something that you have to do to make money. That's not what the true will is about, and I think that that is a really bad mindset that modern spirituality is placed upon people, that like anything and everything you do, if you become a spiritual person, then you need to use your skills or use your gifts or your understandings to make money, whether by providing services or by teaching people. That's not what the true will is about. The true will is purely and simply a channel for you to just let divinity flow through you and express itself and flourish here on in a material plane. Some other things that you can look at, if maybe you're an astrology buff, an astrology nerd, get a birth chart reading, or maybe try to decipher your own birth chart. But I'm just going to put this here now. Do not fall into like trying to make your life fit whatever understanding you have of astrology or your birth chart. The things that you examine or that you look at to try to understand and discover your own true will, they should be taken as like hints or complementary facts. Don't completely try to substitute them. Looking at your rising sign, your midheaven or your 10th house cusp, looking at your north node or your south node. The north node is going to be more indicative of something like the true will. So looking at the moon's nodes in your chart can be really helpful. Again, don't take that as like cut and dry, this is exactly what my true will is, but use that information to sort of inform your understanding and develop your understanding of what your true will is. The process of finding your true will truly is something of trial and error. It's most likely not going to be the first thing that you think. So again, keep a journal. Journal your true wills. Today you might decide this is what I'm thinking that my true will is. I'm going to experiment some in this field, in this area, and see how things go. If you start getting messages from the universe or from the divine, if things just aren't working out, then okay, let's maybe go back to the drawing board. Maybe that's not my true will. Let's tweak this a little bit, or maybe let's look at something completely different. When you are on your path to enacting and fulfilling your true will, you'll probably experience things like synchronicities, or you'll be getting into flow states and you're just like, wow, like time just flew by, I didn't even realize, I was just so into it, I was so focused. When am I experiencing that? Is it when I'm doing something specific? Is it when I'm doing similar things? I think keeping record and taking note of all of those things is what is going to be most beneficial for you to objectively look at what you believe your will to be. But anyways, I hope that this has been educational. I hope that it has been helpful. I know I'm a little bit of a rambler and my thoughts are kind of all over the place, but I really tried to make sure I was communicating my points as precisely as possible. If you are watching this on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. Remember that doing all three will help give Mercury his wings. And if you are listening to the Millennial Magick podcast, thank you for coming back for this short bonus episode. And remember to stay safe, happy castings, so mote it be.